How's it going, Vigilantes? Welcome to my Arrow Season 7 Episode 2 breakdown titled The Longbow Hunters. And this episode was everything I was expecting. And that's a good thing because I was expecting big things from this episode, and big things I did get. Now, just like The Flash Season 5 Episode 2, that wasn't like as amazing and like, you know, blowing away as the first episode, but what I was really happy with is that it still kept up at a very good pace and gave me hope for the rest of the season, because I've said this a billion times before and I'll stop saying it soon, but I didn't enjoy Season 4 that much of The Flash, so it's really great to know that, you know, that those episodes are continuing. And the same with Arrow here. That Season 7 premiere was like really strong, and this episode was just a strong follow suit through, and it introduced these awesome new characters working with Ricardo Diaz, Kodiak, Red Dart, and Silencer, the Longbow Hunters. So I was just really happy because mostly everything in this episode like made sense to the story, and it was just like from the midway point onwards, just really like story, like relevancy, and then action with like, you know, that train scene at the end with Diaz and stuff like that. But we'll get to that. But first of all, if you want to stay up to date with everything like this in terms of Arrow and whatnot, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more reviews and updates like this. And if you do go on to enjoy this video, I would ask you to consider hitting that like button, as it really does help this video out. Now, this episode began with Oliver immediately after the events of the last episode, coming out of the hole, I think it's called, and I think we're going to be revisiting that from future trailers. Now, with the events of last episode, and now Oliver not really giving a crap about anything and will do anything and stop at nothing to protect Felicity and his family, he has gone to Brick to find out anything he can on Diaz. But naturally, Brick, being a criminal and somebody who's gone up against the Arrow at least a couple of times, doesn't want to do that for free, and obviously they don't even like Oliver being the Arrow anyway. But they will give him some information on Diaz if he proves himself. And I really found this interesting just because in this episode, this highlighted how far Oliver has fallen, even though he's kind of gone back to the Oliver we know in terms of like he's not just keeping his head down. But there is a moment in this episode, which I will get to a little bit later, where yeah, he definitely did something that I thought was pretty arsehole-ish. And the reason why Oliver went to Brick anyway is because Brick wasn't just some random guy with some random knowledge. He was the guy responsible for Diaz contacting him to get those guys to beat on Oliver in the shower scene fight that we got in the first episode, which, can we all remember how amazing that was? Felicity has pretty much got tunnel vision on Diaz, especially after what happened to her in episode 1 after she got attacked by him. The thing is, I definitely think a lot of it is valid. Like, if somebody attacks you like that, you do want to take them down. It's like parallels with Oliver and Felicity at the minute. He's doing anything to protect his family, and she's doing anything to get Diaz. It's kind of the same thing at the same time, but she's putting herself at risk and her friends at risk, like Diggle, which I'll also get to a little bit later with the specificness to that. But I did just feel like a couple of things weren't mega believable. For example, you know, she was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go find Diaz or do this in this scene or that in that scene. It's just like, okay, Felicity, what are you gonna do when you go to location and Diaz is right there? I just, you're not really gonna be able to do anything unless you have someone like Diggle there, but she seems to be willing to be running right into the minefield. Now, I want to talk about that first flash forward, guys. Before I go on to like everything, which I'll mention towards the end of this review, I definitely do want to talk about William still talking to Roy on the island and how mind-blowing and intriguing this is for me. It is just, I feel like no matter what way or what theories you're going to come up with, I can't say anything that I think is going to be completely correct, which is what keeps this insanely interesting this season. Not the only thing, of course, but it is definitely something up their sleeve, which they have pulled out, and it is definitely making us think, well, where the hell are they going to go with this? What we did learn from that first little flash forward scene is that Oliver and Felicity abandoned William, and I'm assuming this is after Felicity gave him the Hosting necklace, sent him to Cambridge to boarding school. They definitely inferred that it was from there on out, like he was literally like, okay, Felicity, Oliver. Pretty cool how the Hosting necklace actually opened up. I did not see that coming. Really nice surprise there. It actually was how Oliver found, not Oliver, William found the island, because a little chip with the Lian Yu coordinates on it. I believe it was low-key confirmed that the last time William was on this island is when it blew up, and his mother died. A lot of people are thinking that, didn't Lian Yu blow up? But it's like, well, yeah, it had a load of bombs on it, but that doesn't mean that the island land isn't there. you know, all it meant was that there's a lot of rubble from like various craters and stuff like that. Doesn't mean that the actual land isn't there. And we also got a little tease of some story to come, I believe, in terms of when William mentioned Thea, or like his Aunt Thea, whatever, like Roy was kind of like triggered in a low-key kind of way. So I'm definitely looking forward to see what Roy has to say about this to William, and whether they're having a conversation a bit later or like next episode where they're heading back to a certain place, but I'll get to that. And for the bit I was really looking forward to touching on in this review, and you know, I've been hyping up a little bit towards this episode, and that is the Longbow Hunters. They're essentially assassins that Diaz have hired, and they're extremely dangerous, as they pointed out in the episode, and we've got little previews from them prior to this episode. But you know, what I was most happy about is they held their own. They're really, really strong characters already. Just in the sense of, if you compare them to like a meta of the week, or just like a typical Arrow villain of the week, they definitely didn't come off that way. But I'm just thankful that they still don't feel that way, because sometimes that still happens to bigger characters. I really loved Kodiak, I really loved Red Dart and Silencer. They did infiltrate that offsite Argus facility, and I had no idea what they were stealing though, but it was this prototype B-24 or whatever, which was this battery which is meant to be able to power up a whole town, but it could also be used as a weapon, which is like Diggle's storyline in this episode, and slash Felicity's, and how they're connecting. But either way, like, I love how Red Dart came in, deceived their way in, but then Kodiak came in and well, they both absolutely slayed in that fight scene with those obviously those Argus guards, and I just thought that was incredible. Like, the action was really strong, and I'll get to the action in general. This episode was really, really impressive and cinematic. Kind of goes without saying, but what I love about Red Dart is those trick darts she's got. Kodiak, his shield is freaking badass, and he seems very dangerously intimidating. Like, if you hit him over the head, he kind of just likes it and carries on, kind of thing. And the shield sound effects are freaking awesome and borderline overpowered. Like, when he hits that guy, I swear he flew like 20 meters like the other direction, which was pretty cool. And then Silencer with her freaking sonic manipulator, that was really cool. Like, when she came in, activated it, that guard had no idea, and they were just standing there like that, and then she took him down. Awesome introduction to those characters, and then only more awesomeness later down in the episode, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. Now, as for Felicity versus Diggle, if you've been following my Arrow videos up until now, you know that we've been kind of speculating on how Diggle's commitment to Argus is obviously got to get in the way of what Felicity is going to try and accomplish with getting to Diaz, which we assumed Curtis and Wild Dog would be getting on board with, because especially Wild Dog, he wants to get back to vigilantism as much as he can. There is that familiar kind of old Team Arrow dynamic, because they were somewhat helping each other this episode with finding out about that prototype and whatnot, but when it came to like Felicity going off her own, and then Argus doing the same thing, and how they came together at one point, and you know, Diggle breached in that room, and they're all there, and it's like, oh crap. Diggle, it kind of made me laugh, was telling them off like a teacher would tell off kids. Not that this telling off to Felicity was going to stop her at all, but what I did like in terms of how this tension, this obvious tension, was being created between the two factions of old Team Arrow, whatever you want to call it, is that how this linked with the reasons as to why certain things haven't happened since the end of last season. Like, why didn't Diggle take up the Green Arrow mantle, since he was such a fanboy of putting on that costume beforehand? And that's because the reason why Diggle didn't take up the Green Arrow hood and stuff like that is because of what he witnessed it doing to Felicity, Oliver. They're just family in general, and you know, at the same time, he does have to think about Lila, his kid, and just the fact that, you know, he doesn't want that to happen to himself. Being the Green Arrows a lot more, like, obviously he's putting himself out there, like both parents are, him and Lila being Argus agents or whatever, but you know, being the Green Arrow is just something else entirely. I don't have to explain that to you guys. And I'm happy to say I thought the Diggle stuff would kind of annoy me. I thought it was always getting in the way of what old Team Arrow were trying to achieve, or what's left of them. But no, like, he didn't. I felt like the Diggle scenes were really good. Everything he said made sense as well. But of course, I am looking forward to things getting back to the way they were. And I think we got a little tease of that for when Diggle was talking to, I believe, just one of his superiors. I can't remember the guy's name. But he was like, remember, the mission is to recover the battery, basically, not Diaz. And then obviously Diggle was like, okay. And that just made me think, is this foreshadowing the fact that Diggle is going to keep doing things for the team, or letting things go, or maybe trying to get Diaz over the future missions, and maybe he might be let go. Now guys, as for Laurel this episode, it seems like we're definitely getting that Laurel redemption, and of course that, I think even Beth Schwartz even teased that this season's about redemption, not only for Oliver but for Laurel as well. I loved when those two teamed up in Ricardo Diaz's wannabe castle. It was essentially like seeing both canaries together, and when they used their sonic cry to take the silencer out, or like a sonic manipulator, that was really awesome. Plus, I love this scene anyway. I love this any scene that the silencer was in too, because when like she used a sonic manipulator and how it just had added that no sound effect apart from a really muffled audio. I don't know, it just made like the combat seem different, but in a really, really intense way. Of course, that moment when they were reflecting over Papa Lance really hit me in the feels. But obviously this was the main foreshadowing to Laurel's redemption arc, because she was just like, I'm really, truly, deeply sorry for what I did to Vince, like killing him, of course, and how she wanted Dinah to just know that she's not that person anymore. And obviously this means we're going to see more of what Laurel has actually become in terms of not being Black Siren anymore, but the person that she's insinuating she's become to Dinah. Really, really cool scenes. This is what I mean. This episode was just consistently strong through plot, but also awesome cinematic action. Going back to what I was teasing earlier with the unheroicness, we did hear Stanley say, like, this is my first Green Arrow mission. That was pretty cool. I like Stanley. Still fear that something predictable, like something really bad is going to happen to him. I hope not, but we're going to have to wait and see. We still get trick arrows in prison, people, but they're freaking pencil arrows, which is really, really, really cool. And this led to that moment where Oliver had to get the job done because he wants to help his family out. And that is when he pretended to get stabbed. Now, no matter how annoyed this guard made you feel this episode, that is completely the opposite of Oliver. Like, he did essentially, as he put himself, like, I don't want to ruin this guy's life, blah, 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 blah. He literally has framed that guy for stabbing him. Like, it isn't necessarily ruining his life. It's not like he murdered him. But that prison guard's life is going to be pretty effed up now, losing his job, everything, for stabbing an inmate. So this definitely makes sense in terms of what Stephen Amell teased and how you're going to see like an unheroic Oliver, do things pretty bad that the Green Arrow wouldn't do, but it was really powerful at the same time. Like the fact that he's going this far, like how much further are we going to see Oliver go to protect his family? Like, I can't actually wait to see the drama unfold. Now, holy shit, guys. Diggle versus Diaz, Red Dart, Kodiak. Like, what the heck? Like, that was just an insane scene. Kodiak was slaying. Red Dart's trick darts were freaking so cool. They were, like, used so fast, like one here, one there, one to make gas to knock the Argus agents out, one to lock the door. That's when we got the tease of Richard Dragon with his flamethrower as well. And I just want to say, holy crap, the range on that flamethrower, but that awesome shot from outside the train is what I mean, by the way, in terms of awesome action here in the cinematics. But that flame line went so far. It was literally like they were obviously trying to put it off like he is like an embodiment of a dragon, and that was really, really cool. This is what I mean about Felicity not making too much sense, though. Yes, I know she's got that tunnel vision almost like, so she did literally almost get Diggle killed if it weren't for Curtis. She was like, no, but Diggle would get away. But Diggle was just like, yeah, but if you don't do this, like, everything's going to go horribly wrong. Would she really be like that, or was that just written that way for the sake of that? Let me know what you think down in the comments below there. Now, of course, this won't be the last we see of the Longbow Hunters. It was a really cool shot when the train did manage to separate and we see Diaz, Kodiak, and Red Dart there. This led to an even further conviction of Felicity's tunnel vision in terms of Diaz. Like, I'm not working with you, Curtis or Diggle. And that's when we found out right at the end of the episode that she's working with FBI agent Samandra Watson. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't know. I just didn't like that character so much. I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't find her character that great. And it's just like, is her character going to be like an interesting time to watch on screen with Felicity this episode? And how is this going to help things out? Like, is Felicity going to now do something that will inadvertently somehow help Oliver's prison time if they give Diaz to, I don't know, is it setting up that kind of storyline, if you get my kind of mojo that I'm going along with there? But anyway, right at the end of the episode now, cutting forward to that flash forward scene, we saw that Roy and William were digging up that extra grave, and what was inside it? Oliver's bow. What was inside the bow? A message, and all we know now is that Roy was just like, grab your things, we're heading back, and that means they're heading back to Star City, guys. And that is very, very, this is what I mean by intriguing. Like, we can't really find out exactly what's going on. Like, I feel like nobody's guesses would be spot on. I mean, maybe they would, but at the same time, Why are they going back to Star City? What could be there? Why would Roy go to Lian Yu for years to read a tiny, tiny little note put inside an arrow, which is enough to convince him to head back? This really adds like this compulsion to the viewer to keep watching these episodes. Now, when we saw the bow, my first thought was, so they are going with what I thought and probably a lot of other people thought in terms of, oh, they're setting up William to be that kind of Connor Hawk, future Green Arrow kind of thing. But like he did drop like, oh, Felicity knows I can't shoot a bow, blah, 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 blah. So why would she give me this? So are they like teasing that he's not going to do that, or is that just to throw us off and then when they head back to Star City he will get trained? I have no idea, guys, but I would love to know your thoughts. But that is my take on this episode, guys. That is my breakdown. That is my review. Let me know everything you thought of this episode down in the comments below. I'm really, really happy with it. I just hope they can keep this momentum up, and I'm sure they will. I mean, let's just keep our fingers crossed. But anyway, guys, if you like this video, be sure to like it, as it really does show your support for the channel. And if you're enjoying Arrow Season 7 so far, be sure to show your support for the show and hit that like button. But subscribe to the channel as well for more Arrow reviews and updates and videos like this. But I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you Vigilantes in the next video. Goodbye.